Hey guys, what's going on and welcome back to the channel. So two of the most common questions that people often ask me after I made the video with the Sony 16-55 f2.8 G lens is that should I get a lens that is that expensive and is there any other cheaper alternative? So in this video I decided to compare one of those alternatives to the Sony G lens, and that's a Sigma 18-35 f1.8 for the Canon EF system using an adapter on my Sony A6600, but you can use it on any of the Sony APSC cameras and find out if this is really a lens that you should even consider buying for your Sony APS-C cameras, or if it's better just to go ahead and save the money and go straight to the Sony G lens. I recently made a full cinematic video using only the Sigma lens that you can check it out right here to prove that you can make amazing videos using only this lens. So subscribe to my channel if you like camera filmmaking and drones, and let's check it out. Alright guys, so let's begin. So the first thing that you're gonna notice once you start comparing both lenses is gonna be the size and weight difference between the Sigma and the Sony G lens. If you compare both lenses, you're gonna notice that the Sigma is a much heavier lens than the Sony and feels way more front heavy as well, even when the Sony is extended all the way out. And the reason for that is mostly because number one, the build quality on the Sigma feels way more premium and solid than the Sony, and number two, because of the wider aperture of f1.8 on the Sigma versus 2.8 on the Sony. If you look at the back of each lens, you're gonna notice the big difference in aperture between the two. And that's why this is a very interesting comparison, because even though you're paying less for the Sigma, you're getting a much wider aperture, and that's gonna translate into letting more light to go into the sensor, something that we're gonna be testing in the next couple of minutes. The Sigma 18-35 is gonna set you back around $640, and that's without the EF to Sony adapter, which you can get a cheap one on Amazon for around $60. Links are gonna be down below. What you're getting here is a premium build quality lens with a versatile focal range from 18 all the way to 35mm. It doesn't have optical stabilization, but has a very wide aperture, amazing for low light situations. On the other hand, the Sony costs around $1,300, and what you're getting is a native Sony lens with amazing autofocus capabilities, no optical stabilization, a decent aperture of f2.8, and a longer focal range from 16 all the way to 55mm. However, what you're missing out is a brighter aperture of the Sigma, and to be honest, that's the most exciting feature of the Sigma lens, because even though the Sony has a fairly wide aperture of f2.8, many times I find myself looking for lenses with better low light performance, especially when shooting indoors or even under low light situations. In the following low light test, I'm going to be showing you sample footage using the widest aperture of each lens, so you can see how both of them compare. The Sigma will be at f1.8 versus the Sony at 2.8. and will be increasing the ISO on the camera. Hopefully with this test you're gonna be able to compare the difference in low light capabilities between each lens. And now we're going to be testing the autofocus capabilities on each lens, so you can see how fast they can focus when you're taking photos. Let's take a look. Alright guys, so as you saw, the Sony has an extremely fast autofocus system as to be expected, and the Sigma still can autofocus but at a lower pace. So in my opinion, as long as you're not shooting fast action sports or fast moving objects, you should do well with the Sigma. Unfortunately, when we're talking about the autofocus for videos for the Sigma, it doesn't work too well, and in my opinion it's completely useless. It's super slow and sometimes doesn't autofocus at all. So if your main goal is to shoot video with this lens, I would suggest that you use only the manual focus and not the autofocus feature. Like I mentioned before, I made a full cinematic video using only the Sigma lens that you can check it out right here, so you can see how it works using the manual focus. So in conclusion, the Sigma 18-35 is probably a good alternative to the Sony G lens if number one, you don't want to spend a lot of money in just a single lens, number two, you're looking for a zoom lens with amazing low light performance, number three, you're not going to be shooting fast action targets, Number 4, you don't mind the smaller focal length of the Sigma. And finally, number 5, you don't mind using manual focus when you're shooting videos. Alright guys, that's it for today. If you want to see my other review of the Sony a6100, you can click right here. And as always, don't forget to subscribe for more camera, filmmaking and drone videos. See you in the next one.